My name is Maya, I'm 32, and I live in a quiet little town about an hour outside of Chicago. Most mornings follow the same rhythm. I brew my espresso, check the weather, and stroll to my office just a block away. I co-founded a biotech company focused on health innovation. It's not the easiest job to describe, especially to people who think office job means pushing paper. My family never really understood what I did. Or maybe they never bothered to. I've always been the odd one out. The quiet younger daughter, who didn't care much for makeup, dressed plainly, and was constantly buried in her laptop. My older sister, Elise, was the golden child. She's 3 years older, effortlessly graceful, polite, and always charming. The kind of woman relatives fawn over during holidays. In every family photo, Elise shines in the spotlight while I barely register in the background. At Thanksgiving or Christmas, the praise flows freely. Elise, you look stunning. Or, wow, Elise, your new boyfriend's a surgeon? Meanwhile, if I got any recognition at all, it was something vague like, Maya? She's doing something with science stuff. Before we dive in, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below, letting us know where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. We're excited to connect with all of you, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more amazing content. Now back to the story. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, stayed behind the scenes, and quietly supported everyone, maybe, just maybe, my parents would finally be proud of me. But that moment never came. The admiration, the expectations, the compliments, they were always hers. I was the serious, awkward one. The one no one really knew how to talk to. They had no idea that I'd spent nights at the office, troubleshooting a crisis that could have sunk a $2 million health project. No one ever asked what it took to build a company from nothing, with just a handful of friends and a crazy dream. When someone asks me about my family, I just smile politely and say, we don't really talk much. Not because I'm hiding something, just because there's honestly nothing left to say. We haven't spoken in over 2 years. No calls, no texts, not even on birthdays. Just silence. It used to hurt. I used to believe that family was something solid, something you could always fall back on. But that belief came crashing down the day my mom's birthday came around. It was late March. I had just wrapped up a huge funding deal in New York and was planning to take a few days off to help at home, like I always did. But when I called to let them know, my dad answered the phone and said something I'll never forget. Maya, maybe it's best you don't come home this year. I thought I'd misheard him. Wait, what? I asked, half laughing, thinking maybe he was worried I'd be too tired from work. I already cleared my schedule, Dad. I want to be there. But his tone shifted, flat, final. Elise is bringing her new boyfriend. He's the CFO of some major firm, successful, well-spoken. Your job's complicated. If you come, people will compare. It might get awkward. It's better if you just stay. It hit me like a brick to the chest. Are you saying I embarrassed the family? There was a pause, but not because he was unsure. If you insist on coming, then don't call me your father. Click. That was it. No hesitation. No guilt. The room felt like it stopped breathing. I stared at the cup of espresso cooling in my hand, the sound of that sentence echoing louder than the silence that followed. I didn't cry. I just sat there, numb. That's when it clicked, something I'd tried not to admit for years. I wasn't part of this family. Not really. I'd been clinging to the idea that maybe one day they'd see me, but they didn't want to. And now they didn't even want me around. I got up, walked to my desk, and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account. For over 2 years, I'd been covering my parents' bills. Electricity, water, internet, cable, sometimes car repairs, broken appliances. Almost $6,000 a month, not including the extras. No one ever asked if I could afford it. They'd just say, Elise is having a hard time. If you could help, it'd mean a lot. So I did, quietly, like I was expected to, like it was my duty. I scrolled through the transaction history. Over $15,000, gone. And for what? There was no thank you, no appreciation, just expectations. I canceled every automatic payment, electric, water, internet. Click, click, click. A pop-up confirmed, auto payment canceled successfully. Just like that. Quiet, clean, cold. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, but because I couldn't stop replaying everything. My dad telling me not to come because I wasn't impressive enough. My whole family deciding I wasn't worth inviting just to make room for Elise's boyfriend. When Mom's birthday arrived, I stayed quiet. No text, no gift, no post. I didn't have the energy to pretend anymore. At 5 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Power's out. Can you check, sweetheart?" Mom texted. A minute later, Dad chimed in. "No water or internet. Call the providers. Your mom's freaking out." I just stared at the messages. Not one asked if I was okay. Not one mentioned the call. They just expected me to fix it, like always. Then Elise messaged, "The internet's down. Guests are here." Mom's in tears. "What's going on?" I typed out a reply. I wanted to say, 3 weeks ago, Dad told me not to come. I'm just doing what he asked. But I deleted it. What was the point? They wouldn't hear it anyway. The next morning, there was a voicemail from Elise. Emotional, frustrated. "You knew, didn't you? You just sat there and let it happen during Mom's party. Liam didn't even know what to say. You ruined everything. How could you be so heartless?" I listened, then put my phone down. I wasn't heartless. I had just run out of patience. I checked my work email to distract myself. One subject caught my eye: staff transfer, New Jersey to Chicago HQ. I opened the file and scanned the names. One stood out: Liam Rowe, Elise's boyfriend. He was transferring to our main office. His new supervisor? Me. Maya Rivera, co-founder and director of operations. I nearly laughed. The universe really does have a dark sense of humor. I remembered Mom bragging just a few days earlier. Elise is dating someone really high up. He's the head of finance at a big company. They didn't know I was higher up than he was. They never asked. To them, I was just Maya, who does something science-y. I clicked on Liam's file. Degrees, experience, glowing references. A perfect fit on paper. But more importantly, he was about to walk into my office. The irony was so thick, I didn't even need to do anything. Life had it handled. I didn't cancel his transfer. I didn't interfere. I just waited. The next day, he arrived. He walked into my office holding a file, hesitated at the door when he saw me, and blinked twice. "Maya?" he asked, clearly stunned. "Welcome to Novessa Biotech," I said calmly. "I'll be reviewing this quarter's financials with you. Looking forward to your insights." He was speechless. I slid the folder toward him and went back to my work. He took it and left without a word. It wasn't revenge. It was just reality. Finally catching up. No one in my family had ever known what I did. They never cared to learn. They just assumed I was sitting behind a cubicle, typing all day. That afternoon, I sat by my window with a black coffee. The sky was overcast, the light dull and gray. It felt fitting, like the day itself was holding its breath. My phone buzzed again. "Mom, please, the power is still out. People are arriving. Can you fix this? Just this once?" "No internet? No stove? Do something." "Elise, Mom's on the verge of crying. This is ridiculous. We have no signal. Just help already." I didn't move, didn't reply. Then a video call from Aunt Grace. She was the only one who ever messaged me just to check in. I hesitated but answered. Her face appeared lit by her phone's flashlight. "Sweetheart," she said gently. "It's chaos here. Can't you help a little?" I looked at her. Dad told me I was an embarrassment, told me not to come. So I didn't. And in the background, I heard my mother's voice say, "She's probably sulking. Who'd do this to their own family?" Aunt Grace's face shifted the moment she heard what I said. She didn't respond right away, and then the screen moved. Someone else had walked into view. Liam. Same polished look, same tailored blazer. He looked directly at the camera, confused, then surprised. "You're Maya Rivera?" he asked, as if finally connecting the dots. I nodded calmly. From behind the camera, I could hear the stunned silence. Plates clinked, voices stilled. The energy in the room changed. "She's my boss," Liam said, turning to the rest of them. "She's the co-founder of Novessa Biotech. She approved my transfer." He might as well have dropped a bomb. I could practically picture the scene. Elise standing frozen with a half-lit birthday cake in her hand, my dad gripping the edge of the table, and my mom trying to hold back her panic while guests looked around in awkward silence. "I hope your introduction to the family goes well," I told him, then calmly ended the call. No mic drop, no satisfaction, just quiet. I placed my phone on the table and let the weight of it settle in the room around me. The silence that followed didn't feel empty this time. It felt earned. The next message came not long after, another long, rambling text from Elise, her usual mix of guilt, manipulation, and indignation. "You knew, didn't you? You just let it play out in front of everyone. Mom cried all night." Liam's completely thrown off. Why would you do this? I made a cup of ginger tea and watched the steam rise. After a few minutes, I responded. I didn't say a word, I didn't reveal anything. I was home, drinking tea. Liam made the connection. If a single truth ruined your party, then maybe the party wasn't built on truth to begin with. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't need one. Later that night, Mom messaged too. Just one line. I didn't think you'd stoop to this, just to get back at us. I leaned back and exhaled. Get back at them? Was that what they thought? That I'd waited years just to ambush them at a birthday party? I remembered being excluded from family events, being treated like an afterthought, being the silent benefactor paying bills without so much as a thank you. I wasn't seeking revenge, I was done begging to be seen. At 10 p.m., an email landed in my inbox. From Liam. Maya, I didn't know. You were calm, respectful, and didn't make a scene. I just want to say I admire the way you carried yourself today. You have my respect. I responded simply. You don't owe me anything, Liam. Everyone chooses how they see people. I've learned that sometimes silence speaks louder than anything else. Then I shut my laptop, placed my phone face down, and turned off the light. I had nothing left to prove. The next morning, I stepped into my office like I always did. Early, quiet, focused. The sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows, casting a soft glow across my desk. There was a calm in the air, like everything had finally exhaled after years of tension. In my inbox sat a new message. Subject, apology and goodbye. From Liam Rowe. I clicked. Maya, I barely slept last night. I know it wasn't the place or time, but I'm strangely grateful everything happened the way it did. I finally saw Elise and your family for who they are. I'm ending things with her. Not because of the birthday, not even because of the lies, but because I realize now, respect should never be conditional. Thank you for staying silent, for holding your dignity, and for leading with quiet strength. I read it twice. Not because I needed to, just because it felt surreal to be understood. Finally, I wasn't happy Elise got dumped. That wasn't it. It was more that someone, anyone, outside my circle had seen the truth I'd been living in for years. It wasn't in my head. I wasn't being too sensitive. My silence wasn't cold. It was survival. 2 hours later, my phone buzzed. Elise, can you talk to Liam, please? He misunderstood everything. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then came a second message, just minutes later. You're his boss. You can influence him. Just tell him he's wrong, please. I stood up and walked over to the window. Below, the city moved without pause, cars flowing, people rushing. No one knew a text like that had just hit me with the weight of years. All those times I had wished Elise would check on me, just once. To ask how I was doing, to say she was proud, to be a sister. But she never did. Now her relationship was crumbling, and she wanted me to save it. I returned to my desk and typed. Liam didn't walk away because of anything I said. He walked away because of who you are. And maybe for the first time, he saw it clearly. I hit send. An hour passed. Then another message. You're right, but I don't want to lose him. I'll change. Please. Just this once. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I'd moved beyond explaining myself. That evening, I left work just as the sun dipped low, casting everything in a rich orange hue. The spring breeze was crisp, the air smelled like quiet freedom. I walked to my car slowly, breathing in the stillness. For the first time in years, I didn't feel burdened. I felt light. I drove home with the windows slightly down, letting the cool spring air fill the car. For once, I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight of an invisible backpack, filled with expectations, guilt, and obligations I never signed up for. I didn't take revenge. I just let the truth surface. And it did, louder than I ever could have spoken it. Elise had built a story. One where she was the star and I was the blurry background. Liam had finally seen the truth behind the facade, what I had seen my entire life. That night, I put on an old playlist. Songs I used to listen to back in my early startup days, when I worked out of coffee shops and coded at midnight, invisible to the world. The songs hit different now. Not painful. Not nostalgic. Just honest. A week later, on a rare Sunday afternoon when I wasn't glued to my laptop, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the best of me, and when I checked the peephole, I froze. It was my parents. My mom stood holding a small shopping bag, her eyes sunken with exhaustion. My dad stood beside her, arms folded, face as hard as ever. I opened the door. No words, just stepped aside to let them in. I poured water, set 2 glasses on the table, and sat across from them. The silence was thick. Dad cleared his throat first. "About your mom's birthday, I said some things I shouldn't have." I waited. He glanced at my mom, then continued, a little slower this time. "We may have been too hard on you. Elise hasn't been doing well. She's a mess after the breakup. Your mom's been crying a lot. We just thought maybe we could talk like a family." I didn't say a word, just nodded slightly. I already knew there was a reason for their visit, and it wasn't closure. Mom jumped in next, voice soft but practiced. "We've been thinking. You're stable now. Your job's doing great. We were wondering if you could help us out. Just a monthly contribution, maybe $2,000? It would cover insurance, some bills, and a bit of retirement savings." I looked at her, then at my dad, who quickly added, "It's not a lot, Maya. Not for someone in your position. We're still family." I straightened my back and kept my voice level. "What about Elise?" Mom hesitated. "She's not in a good place. Work's been rough. We can't put pressure on her right now." I smiled, but not because it was funny. "If Elise contributes her part, $1,000, and we put it in writing that when you're both gone, everything including the house goes to me, then I'll consider it." Silence. Dad's face turned red. "We raised you for over 20 years, and now you're demanding contracts?" I didn't flinch. "You think raising me was an investment? Then let's run the numbers, but I'm done paying in silence." My dad stood up, jaw tight, hands slamming against the table hard enough to make the glasses rattle. My mom flinched beside him. "We gave you everything," he snapped. "And now when we ask for a little support, you come at us with conditions?" I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. "Those aren't conditions," I said calmly. "They're boundaries. I gave over $15,000 to this family in silence. No thank you, no acknowledgement, just expectation. If you want my help now, you'll treat me like more than your fallback plan." My mom looked at my dad, whispering, "Maybe we should think this through." But he'd already made up his mind. He turned, muttering under his breath, and headed for the door. I walked them out without a word. No hugs, no apologies, no closure. When the door clicked shut behind them, I felt a stillness settle over my apartment. For once, it wasn't heavy, it was clarity. That was the last time I heard from them. No more texts, no calls. Not even Elise reached out. They vanished as though silence was some sort of punishment. But to me, it was peace. I went on living my life. Early morning coffees, long strategy meetings, leading projects I'd once dreamed of, signing contracts with people who never imagined a quiet, focused woman like me could run a biotech company, and I stopped feeling guilty. I stopped being the emergency contact, the fixer, the one who always showed up no matter how they treated me. Because love that depends on money and convenience isn't love at all, it's a transaction. I deleted the old family photo from my phone wallpaper. I didn't message Elise on her birthday. I didn't send Christmas cards. Instead, I gave myself permission to stop showing up where I was never truly welcomed. One rainy afternoon, I stepped out of the office and ducked into a little cafe down the street. I took my usual seat by the window. On the wall near the counter hung a wooden sign. "Home is not always a place. Sometimes it's a decision." I smiled and sipped my latte. There was a time when I believed if I just kept working hard, kept being kind and useful, eventually they'd accept me. But I've learned, if you let people get used to overlooking you, they will. If you stay quiet, they'll assume you agree. Setting boundaries wasn't cruel. It was necessary. Someone once asked me if I regretted not helping my parents when they needed it. My answer? I regret not realizing sooner that I deserved better. Because real family doesn't treat you like a utility. Real family sees you, respects you, shows up for you, not just when they need something. I didn't choose tradition. I chose myself. And for the first time in my life, I felt like that was more than enough. What about you? Do you think I was too distant? Or did I finally choose to love myself at exactly the right moment? Feel free to share your thoughts. Because your story might be the one that gives someone else clarity when they're caught between loyalty and self-respect. And if you've ever felt like a stranger in your own family, trust me, you're not alone. Maya's story reminds us that no one is required to carry the weight of relationships that are family in name, but empty in love and respect. Choosing boundaries, protecting your peace, and no longer allowing your compassion to be treated like a service. That isn't selfish. That's growth. Maya didn't seek revenge. She chose quiet strength. She chose to walk away instead of fight for scraps of recognition. And sometimes, the most powerful choice you can make is to finally stop asking to be seen. What do you think of Maya's decision? Was she wrong to let go, or was she simply protecting a heart that had been ignored for far too long? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow for more honest, powerful stories about healing, self-worth, and the courage it takes to stand up for yourself.